Time for the Daily Planet podcast show. Sit back, relax, and give us a go. Scott and Matt and maybe a guest, undertaking an epic pod quest. We're gonna ramble on about movies and books and television and directors and film festivals and this really long list of stuff that I know nothing about, but they gave it to me and they really wanted me to read through it. And that's all I can really say about it, but it's gonna be great. The show.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Planet Podcast, your weekly podcast for all things movies, TV, books, and anything else we feel like talking about. My name is Scott Daly and I am your host, and I'm joined once again by my co-host and co-person, Matt Freeman. Matt, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing great this week, Scott. I'm buried under snow today, but that's all the more reason to snuggle up for a nice, cozy podcast.
That's just wonderful. It's some weird imagery in my head right now, but
that was the intent, Scott.
Matt, we're here to talk about 2017. We're done with 2016. We're moving on to bigger and hopefully better things. So we're here to look forward and look to the movies that are coming out this next year. So I think basically what we're going to do is play a very long version of our in or out game where we go through each of these movies and talk about them a little bit and determine whether we're looking forward to these movies or not. The general rule here is that I only pick movies that actually have a definite release date. There are some movies that are just still slated for 2017 release. There are some indie movies that are going to be at festivals but haven't secured distribution yet, so I didn't count those. So most of the movies on this list are going to be blockbuster type movies, big budget movies. It's unfortunate, but I can't really preview movies that I haven't even heard of yet. So,
yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, there's more than enough movies that fit that description already for us to talk about.
Yeah, this is like it's a long list right here. So let's get into it. Let's start with January, which is now. So the weird thing about January, and I don't know if you've noticed this, Matt, that there's so many movies that are coming out this month that technically have already been out. In order to qualify for Oscars, movies have to be playing in theaters prior to the end of the year. So what companies are doing more and more is doing a limited engagement in LA and New York and maybe some other markets to qualify for the Oscars, and then they'll do their full release in January. So there's a whole bunch of films coming out wide that most people have already talked about. I'm not going to really bring much of those up here for January, with one exception. But so that's why if you're wondering why I'm not discussing movies like, I can't even think of them. Movies like Silence, Martin Scorsese's Silence. Yeah, that movie technically is a 2016 release, so technically doesn't qualify.
Wow,
but.
That's surprising. I feel like I just heard that movie existed and it's already out.
Yeah, we're already done with it. That does actually hit wide this weekend though, and I'm kind of excited.
Cool. Yeah, me too.
All right, so let's jump to January 20th, and we have two movies coming out that I wanted to talk to you about. The first is Split, which is the new movie by my favorite director, and I'm going to go ahead and say your favorite director too, M. Night Shyamalan. That's a new film coming out. What did you think of Split?
I mean, I have a lot of M. Night loyalty, and it seems like he's getting back to his roots of making sort of weird conceptual horror movies. And this it's got McAvoy. It looks like he's having a great time. I think the premise is interesting. I feel like the trailer gives too much away. Actually, you can sort of tell where they're going with it, but I think this is going to be pretty good, and I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, I agree with you on the trailer. Although I will say this screened at Fantastic Fest. I did not get into it. M. Night Shyamalan was there. I did not get to meet him. I'm very upset about that. But from the feedback I got, most people seem to really like it. And the ending is, like I've been told, like apparently M. Night begged everyone in that screening not to spoil the ending. So the ending is something else. Like people like stand up in your chair, like level of did that just happen? So I'm so looking forward to this movie. I can't wait.
Yeah, that's very evocative.
See, now I've got you. Now you interested.
Yeah.
All right, the next movie that's coming out this week is Triple X3: The Return of Xander Cage, a movie that I didn't know anyone was asking for, but Vin Diesel has given it to us with the graciousness of his heart.
I'm so happy. I mean, the first Triple X was fun, and it was like a perfect popcorn movie. I never saw the second one because it didn't have Vin Diesel, and so I didn't care.
Yeah.
I've always had a weird obsession with Vin Diesel. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that on the podcast, but it's true. Yeah, I mean, I won't see this in theater, I don't think, because I have very few opportunities to see things in theater, but I probably will see this eventually because I'm curious what Xander Cage has been up to all these years.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if, the Fast and the Furious 8 comes out this year too, and that might just be too much Vin Diesel in 1 year, but maybe not.
And we'll talk about that later, but the funny thing about Fast and the Furious is that I've only seen the first one, so my entire relationship with that franchise is basically through the trailers. So I have probably one of those really hilarious, completely erroneous images of what that franchise is actually about.
I can't wait till we get there then. That's not till, I don't even know, April? Yeah. April. It's in April.
Okay.
So let's move on. The next week, 27th, releases Resident Evil, the final chapter. I'm going to be honest with you. I did not know that this franchise was still going on. And I'm guessing by the title that this is the last one. But you never know.
It's kind of amazing because, as far as I know, all of these movies have a reputation for being just awful. So somehow they keep getting the money to make them. And I guess Mila Jovovich isn't getting any other offers for any other roles, so she just keeps making these movies.
I think it's her husband that is either producing or directing them. I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, this movie, I can't even tell what's going on. Of course, I haven't seen them since I think maybe the second one, maybe the third one. So I've seen, like you in Fast and Furious, I've seen this movie through trailers, and I thought there was one where the world had ended and everything was nothing but dust. But apparently that didn't happen.
That's probably a simulation. Yeah, I think that happens in these movies.
Of course. I'm not going to see this movie, but I just looked it up. Apparently these are all fairly financially successful somehow, so people are going to see them. So I guess they'll finally get to see how their franchise ends, so that's cool.
Yeah. Good for them. I'm not going to see it.
Me neither. All right, next up on the 27th is Gold. This is the new Matthew McConaughey movie about a man. I think it's based on a true story about a man who goes out into the middle of South America, finds billions of dollars worth of gold, and then proceeds to completely destroy himself and get in trouble with the law. And your classic, based on a true story of an Icarus character. What did you think of this trailer?
It looked fun. I mean, Matthew McConaughey definitely has a lot of stock with me, so I think this is him flexing his muscles and being a weird character again, which I love it when he does that. So it's hard to tell how much of a true story it is, but I guess I don't really care about that.
Yeah. No.
I think I will see this eventually, not in the theaters though.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. It's interesting that this seems like it has every markings of a movie that would be trying to compete for some awards, but the way they positioned it, I don't think it's eligible. So I don't know why they did that. Maybe it just wasn't testing very well, so they just decided not to spend the money on the campaign. I don't know.
Yeah, that's possible. Because one thing about McConaughey that I respect is that he takes risks. He goes into really weird movies sometimes.
Yeah, he does.
And sometimes it works really well, and he makes a Dallas Buyers Club, and it gets all the awards. And then sometimes it doesn't work so well, and he makes a Killer Joe. So.
Yeah, his character is he intentionally kind of uglified in this movie. It's like he gained some weight. He has balding hair. I don't know. I think it's interesting. We'll see. I do know that there's a song in this movie that was nominated for the Golden Globe for Best Original Song. I don't know. I don't know what to do with that information.
Yeah,
other than to just put it out there in the universe.
That's kind of damning with faint praise. Like, yeah, good song, guys. All right.
Yeah, so that's really all I had for February besides all those lagging Oscar films. Or for January, sorry. Moving on to February. February's a really interesting month, Matt, because this used to be like the dumpster of Hollywood. If you had a movie that you didn't think was going to perform very well, you buried it in February. But last year, Deadpool came out in February and made crap tons of money. So I think we're starting to really see an end to that. I think the interesting thing with Hollywood is that the seasons, I mean, you still definitely have summer is where a lot of your big movies come out, but those have been coming out earlier and earlier. Like there's some in March now, there's some April. So I think it's starting to spread into February because I look at this list and there's a lot of big movies on here. Not like $100, $200 million blockbuster movies big, but not buried in February movies for sure. Now there are some of those in here. Don't get me wrong, but so let's go through them. The first on February 3rd is Rings. This is the second sequel to the original Ring scary movie. What is your opinion? Have you ever seen those films? I know you're not really big into horror.
I saw the first one and I thought it was pretty scary. But I don't think I saw the second one. Maybe I may have actually seen the second one and just found it to be really forgettable. But this trailer seems completely tonally not the same as the first movie. Because like you see more of the supernatural weirdness in this trailer than I think you see in the whole first movie. In terms of like black hair coming out of things. So it seems like they're just laying it on really thick, which to me says it's not going to be that scary because part of the scariness comes from the suspense of it and the weirdness of it. Maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't look. I don't know. I'm never excited about horror sequels, frankly.
Yeah, I'm not interested in this film. I will probably see it, not in the theater, but you're absolutely right. It looks like they've tried desperately to take this, what is an interesting concept, and attempt to modernize it. Instead of making physical copies of tapes, you're just sending the video as an email attachment. And the end of the trailer where it takes over the airplane, like it's just too much.
Oh yeah, that was stupid.
Yeah. So I don't have a lot of faith for this one either. But I don't know. Maybe it'll surprise us. There was this movie, that Ouija board movie, had a sequel last year, and it apparently was actually good, which I would have never believed that ever. So maybe Rings will be good.
Yeah, maybe.
We will find out in about a month. All right, next, the 10th is a pretty big weekend. We've got 3 movies coming out that at least I'm interested in. The first is John Wick Chapter 2. Now, Matt, I know you haven't seen the original John Wick.
Nope. I finally did see it, actually.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, at some point. I don't know when.
Well, what did you think?
Oh, what did I think?
Don't speak ill of my movie, Matt.
So here's the thing. I don't think I liked it that much, and then I saw like a YouTube video about how it was great, and then I retroactively decided I liked it more. But and then also I saw these videos of Keanu Reeves training for the movie, and that made me like it more also because it made me realize that he was actually doing all those things instead of like stuntmen and so forth. I don't know. That made a difference to me for some reason.
Well, good, because I love the original John Wick, and I am very, very, very excited about this film. It's got the same directors involved, the same writers. Obviously, Keanu's back and did a bunch more training for this film. So it looks so good, man. This trailer looks so good.
Yeah, this trailer actually looks fun. There was a lot of the first movie that was kind of depressing, but this movie looks more fun, and that's good, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're gonna just disagree. I mean, I guess there was depressing parts, but
There's the beginning was with the dog.
Yeah,
and
but it's
everything.
necessary for the pathos. You have to care. You have to be
True.
just as angry as John.
You're right. It's dog though.
It's really sad. We actually found a problem on my fiance's dog because of this movie. Because I found out she hadn't seen it, and so I made her watch it immediately. And after the dog dies in the movie, she felt really bad and called her dog up on the couch. And that's when we noticed that her dog had a hematoma on her ear. So thanks, John Wick, for saving our dog.
Yeah. Wow. That's
what he does.
The movie is powerful.
Saves dogs.
It's a dog saving movie. That's amazing. It's like The Ring, except saves lives, but only dogs.
So it's not like The Ring at all. All right. Also on the 10th is T2, Trainspotting. That's the sequel to Trainspotting. Matt, I don't think you and I have ever talked about Trainspotting. Is that a film that you liked?
I've never seen that, and I'm aware it's a classic. I'm aware that I'm a bad person for not having seen it. I vaguely know what it's about. But this trailer looks really interesting. It makes me want to go watch Trainspotting so that I'll be ready for this movie.
Yeah, the only reason I brought that up is because it just seems like a movie that you would very much enjoy.
Okay, good. So
I think you should go see it. Danny Boyle is back to direct this one. So and you're right. It looks like I was worried that doing a sequel 20 years later, you would lose some of the weirdness that the film had. It had this weird like kinetic energy to it. And it feels like that's carried over, even though all our characters are much, much older. But it looks very similar stylistically, but it looks like they're going to take it in new, interesting directions. So, I mean, when I first heard of this, I was like, no, that's a terrible idea. But it's a good trailer, and I want to see this movie.
Yeah, me too.
All right, the last movie on the 10th is the Lego Batman movie. So, if you would have told me 5 years ago, Lego Batman movie, I would have been convinced that this is the worst like corporate cash grab thing I've ever seen in my entire life. But the Lego movie was so good, and this trailer looks hilarious, and this could be the best Batman depiction we've ever had in a long time. I am so in on this movie.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the Lego movie was just like a miracle. I still don't know like how it happened exactly, who is responsible for that. But whoever it is, let's just keep throwing money at him.
Yeah, that's Chris Miller and Phil Lord, same guys that did 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street, some other things I can't think about right now. But they are not doing this movie, but it is the team that they've worked with, and it has the same kind of feeling to it. I don't know, like it is. I mean, this is a hopeless like cash grab for the studio. I mean, they're gonna sell a bunch of Lego Batman toys, and like, but it looks so wonderful. I don't even care. Yeah,
right. I mean, it's not like normal Batman doesn't sell tons of Batman toys.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
At least the money is going into a machine that works here.
That's true. All right, moving on to February 17th. Got 2 movies this weekend. We're going to go through these very quickly because the first one is The Great Wall. This is the Matt Damon Chinese film that does not look good. And I'm very... there was a whole bunch of controversy that came out when this movie was first announced because it's obviously Matt Damon playing the main character as a white guy in a movie that takes place in China. And there was a lot of cries about whitewashing and not hiring enough Asian actors. I think like the movie just doesn't look good. So I almost think that's not even really important this time around because it's just going to be a silly, bad movie. So I don't know. What did you think about The Great Wall trailer?
Yeah, I'm just surprised that Matt Damon would allow himself to be in something like this, I guess.
Right? They must have given him a lot of money.
Yeah, or there's some other weird angle involved here. Like it was some kind of cultural outreach effort that has obviously failed.
Well,
Because is it an actual Chinese movie, or is it just?
I mean, it's in English, but it's directed by a very famous Chinese director. So it is. I think it's a movie funded by a Chinese studio, taking place in China, meant to appeal to China, and maybe this was their attempt to say, "Hey, Western audience, like this guy." Or maybe they just really love Matt Damon in China.
And another thing that I sort of neglect is, first of all, this movie probably will make $10 billion in China.
Yeah,
because you're probably right. They probably love Matt Damon in China. This director is obviously knows what Chinese people like. This movie is going to be wildly popular there, and then every 14-year-old in America is going to think this is the coolest thing ever, also, and it's going to make, $750 million here. So this is going to be an incredibly successul movie, even though we're going to say that it's terrible, and it is going to be terrible.
I will say that the idea of it is really interesting to me. I just think it looks very silly.
Yeah, silly is the right word, but not like self-aware silly, just like
like
dumb.
Yeah. All right, next up, also on the 17th, is Gore Verbinski's new thriller, A Cure for Wellness. What did you think of this? Had you heard of this movie before I sent you a link to the trailer?
I had seen the trailer previously for some reason, and I honestly couldn't really make sense of it, and I didn't read any more about it to try to figure it out. So if you want to explain to me what this movie's actually about, that'd be cool.
I know probably about as much as you. Okay. I think... I like Gore Verbinski a lot. I think Dane DeHaan is a really good actor who could do some good in this film. I do like that the trailer doesn't really give away too much. It seems like he goes to this place to find a business colleague and then gets stuck there. And that's really all we know. I like the imagery a lot. It looks very weird, but in a good way. I'm kind of excited about this one.
Reminds me of Shutter Island a lot.
Yeah, that's. I was about to say that. That's exactly true. I hope it doesn't have the same end as Shutter Island.
Right.
But, yeah. So that's a Cure for Wellness that comes out February 17th. This is one that I am definitely going to try to see in the theater. So we will let the public know how good that movie is.
All right.
The last movie in February is Get Out. This is the new horror film by Jordan Peele of Key and Peele variety. So he's a comedian who has now decided to make a horror movie. Matt, I am so excited about this movie. This looks so interesting. Yeah.
This is the one that's going to be extremely controversial, right?
Yes.
It's I'm going to describe it the way I described it earlier, in that it looks like it's a horror movie where the monster is just white people. So it's gonna be an interesting social event when that comes out. It looks really interesting. Like, I think it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I think one of the things, and I don't know if you've ever watched Key and Peele, but one of the it's a very funny show, and they're two very talented comedians, but they're also just very visually impressive. Like, they know how to shoot things. Like, they would have skits where it ends up being a comedy, but the premise is some horror theme thing, and it always looks really good considering it's a sketch show that was on Comedy Central, and they had very limited budget, so it was just very well done. So it makes me think that they just have a very good eye, and they're going to craft something. At least Jordan Peele, I think he's not working with Key on this one, but is going to craft something very interesting and unique and exciting and controversial, but in a good way, I think.
Productively.
Yeah. So I'm very excited. That one comes out on February 24th. Moving on to March, which is now summer season. In modern day Hollywood, because when the comic book movies start coming in, it's summer season. So, and the first comic book movie of the year comes out on March 3rd. That is Logan. This is the old man Wolverine movie with the Johnny Cash song in the trailer. Matt, what did you think of this one? This
potentially good, but I mean, man, there have been so many different takes on Wolverine, all using Hugh Jackman, where practically every movie with Wolverine in it is a different character. I do enjoy the Old Man Wolverine character, version of Wolverine from the comics and cartoons and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been interested to see how they're gonna do this, and it looks like they're doing kind of a Mad Max future, dystopian future thing. It looks like the tone is going to be fairly grim. Don't they show all the like gravestones in the trailer, or am I mixing memories with the cartoon?
I think they do. I don't remember specifically, but yeah, I think the idea is that most other mutants are dead. Logan has kind of lost his powers, and there's this one special. I forget what her name is. That I haven't read the story in a long time, but yeah, I mean, I'm excited about an X-Men movie, and that's not something I've been able to say for a long time. So, this is the rated R one. They're saying that this is not a response to the success of Deadpool, but it probably kind of is.
Yeah, it's. I mean, if anything, they just saw that could be that could work, and now they're not so afraid of doing it.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, I think that the first 20 or 30 minutes of this movie was shown at an event somewhere, so people have seen it, and they had very good things to say. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but I hope it's good. So moving on to March 10th, that is when Kong Skull Island movie comes out. This is this movie, I think, is trying to set up what is eventually going to be like a Godzilla versus King Kong showdown, shared universe type thing. So I think that's why they're making King Kong in this movie as enormous as he is, because they need him to be as big as Godzilla in the Gareth Edwards Godzilla movie. What do you think about this film?
It actually looks pretty fun. My first thought was, when I was started up the trailer, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be terrible and schlocky. But the trailer, I mean, as much as you can read from a trailer, it seems like they know what they're doing. They're going for fun adventure tone.
Right.
They've got oh man, I can't believe the comedic actor
John C. Reilly.
They got John C. Reilly kind of being ridiculous and got a few laughs out of me in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of a cool idea where it's not really, as far as I know, authentic to any of the versions of the Kong story we've heard. It's kind of a twist where it's like much more of a fantasy realm rather than just like, oh, it's an island and there happens to be a giant monkey on it. And I was also, I watched this pretty much right after watching the Great Wall trailer, and my immediate response was to juxtapose them and be like, these are both going to be really silly movies, but this movie is going to be a silly movie intentionally, and it's going to be fun, and the silliness is going to work. And that's my prediction anyway. We'll see.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. This is one of my most anticipated movies of this year. This cast is stacked. I mean, Brie Larson, Tom Hiddleston, Sam Jackson, John Goodman, and John C. Reilly. It's crazy how much talent is attached to this thing. So, yeah, I completely agree with you. They've got the tone right, and that's so important. Now, whether the tone in the film matches this trailer, nowadays we can't say, but it certainly seems like they understand what they're doing and what they're making, and it's going to be a lot of fun, I hope.
Yeah.
So that comes out March 10th. So moving on to the 17th, we have Disney's continued work to make live action versions of all of their animated classics. So we have Beauty and the Beast coming March 17th. So I like Emma Watson a lot. I've liked their other live action efforts, but I don't know how I feel about this movie. How do you feel about it?
I don't think I feel too good. I mean, the original animated version is one of those like perfect classic movies, and I just don't know why you would try to remake that with live action. I don't know. I guess my opinions aren't too complicated. I don't know. I don't want to see it. I don't think. I mean, I don't even know if I'll bother showing it to my kids, even though it's, it would be like their perfect age targeted thing. Just because I'm like, why? We already have this movie. We already have the perfect version of this movie.
Yeah, and it's one thing to take the idea and make it live action and then change it, but it really feels like from the trailers that, I mean, the trailers show like shot for shot recreations of some scenes.
Right.
So it feels like they're really just taking the movie and just making it live action, and that's all they're doing.
Yeah.
I will say that Luke Evans as Gaston might just be the smartest thing that anyone has ever done. That's such a perfect casting. And he might be enough to make me want to see the movie on his own, but I'm not like really looking forward. I was looking forward to Jungle Book. I'm not really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, it's not clear to me. Are they going to remake the musical sections or just the plot?
I think so. I think the musicals as well.
Because they didn't remake the musical sections for the Jungle Book, did they?
They threw 2 songs in there. Like it was
a
half-assed wait. Like it wasn't. The Jungle Book was not a musical. They had The Bare Necessities and Wanna Be Like You, like, but they were completely out of place and weird. Like Christopher Walken breaking into song for no reason just felt really off. I think this is going more for it's going to be a musical, but
okay.
I don't know for sure.
Okay.
So next up, we have a fun little movie called The Belko Experiment that was written by Guardians of the Galaxy director James Gunn. It looks fun. Like I don't know how much more to say about it other than it's an interesting concept. People working in an office suddenly get trapped in there, and then they're told they have to kill off people, or if they don't, double the amount that they were requested to kill off will be killed, and just kind of shows how the society of the office completely breaks down. It looks good. I don't know.
Yeah, one of those like human nature psychological thriller stories.
Right.
I'm not like feeling compelled to see it as soon as possible, but it definitely looks interesting to me.
Yeah. So I think that's all we really have to say about that one.
Yeah. Right.
The next movie is Free Fire. This is Ben Wheatley's new movie. Ben Wheatley, who also did last year's High Rise, who did A Field in England. He's a very unique director. He has a very specific vision, and his films are all very, very different, and they don't work for everyone. From the surface, it seems to be like one of his more mainstream productions. I mean, it's a very simple concept here. It looks very funny. Basically, it's just a gun deal goes wrong and everyone starts shooting each other. What did you think of this trailer?
Yeah, it's funny because it doesn't seem like a whole movie from the trailer. Like, if that makes sense. It seems like the trailer covers what should be one scene, but it ends up being like, nope, that's the whole movie. So, I mean, that's neither a criticism nor a praise. That's just like I'm curious to see what this movie is actually like, because this is one instance where I don't feel like the trailer gave the whole movie away, and it does kind of show you the tone they're going for, which is kind of a almost slapstick humor involving shooting people in the legs
everywhere. I think every character gets shot in this trailer. Yeah, I'm very excited. Again, like this has a really stacked cast, and it's good to see Sharlto Copley doing something away from his terrible friend.
I'm not sure what that's a reference to, but I will smile and nod.
His buddy Neil Blomkamp, you know that.
Oh yes. Oh yes, thank you. Yes, I forgot that was that guy's name. Good for him.
All right. Moving on to March 24th, we have Power Rangers.
Moving on.
Yeah, I mean, really briefly, like Power Rangers was never good, but it worked because it was campy and recognized how ridiculous it was. You don't make a down-to-earth, edgy Power Rangers film. You just don't do it. Like it just doesn't. It just looks ridiculous.
Yeah, it's terrible. And the thing about Power Rangers, I don't think Power Rangers ever really had ardent fans. Like I watched Power Rangers when I was a kid because that's what was on and that's what was kind of popular at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't like Ninja Turtles where I was like insane about Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
And I still am curious enough that I kind of want to see the new Ninja Turtles movies. But Power Rangers, I'm just like, no, I have no loyalty to this. I can't even imagine anyone having loyalty to Power Rangers, like brand loyalty.
Yeah.
And I don't know why this franchise is alive when Dino Riders has not had any movies.
Did not expect to be talking about Dino Riders on this podcast.
I mean, what, Scott? Why haven't they made a Dino Riders live action movie?
That's a really good question. That was such an amazing cartoon.
It was, and the concept is incredible. Like it's an incredible cinematic idea.
Yeah, except the good guys pick all the crappy dinosaurs.
Yeah, well,
why would you not pick a T-Rex, Matt?
It's because they're the peaceful. They're the peaceful people of.
They're hippies.
Yeah.
Damn hippies.
Yeah.
All right, so that's Power Rangers coming out March 24th. I will not see that film. I am so uninterested in that. And speaking of things I'm uninterested in, on the 31st of March comes The Boss Baby, which is a movie which central premise revolves around Alec Baldwin is a talking baby. And I don't know if anything else needs to be said.
No. I mean, it reminds me of the Kevin Spacey as a talking cat movie from last year. So that's all. That's it.
All right. Also on the 31st is Ghost in the Shell. This is the Scarlett Johansson movie adapted from the very popular Japanese anime that stirred up a lot of controversy last year because the main character that Scarlett Johansson is playing is Asian in the anime, or at least half Asian, and has now been completely whitewashed. Matt, I'm into this trailer, and I'm not into anime, and I don't think I've ever seen Ghost in the Shell. I know nothing about this, but this trailer looks interesting. I'm down. Yeah,
it's I think it's gonna be pretty good. They seem to have a strong visual style that they're going for, which is very often copying from the anime, which was of course amazing in its own right, and then in some places being its own thing, which is also great. The story they're doing for this movie is not going to be the same story that they did for the main Ghost in the Shell film, which most people are familiar with. So it'll actually be something new. They actually made a different Ghost in the Shell film that had this storyline in it, but that's fine.
Confusing.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, as long as this is the only thing you see, I think you'll be fine.
So how do you feel about the whitewashing of the main character?
I mean, my thought about this was always that, first of all, in anime, the protagonists are very often Caucasian. I don't have any means of speculating about why that is, but I could name half a dozen popular anime series off the top of my head where the main character is clearly a Caucasian, even though everyone involved in making the anime is Japanese and it's for a Japanese audience. Major Motoko looks pretty Caucasian in the cartoon, although you could tell me that she's half Japanese and I would believe you. So, and on top of all this, Major Motoko is a cyborg whose entire body except for her brain is robotic, so her brain could still be Japanese and she could. Oh, is that supposed to be?
I don't think so.
That's pretty. I think that's pretty part of the whole premise. So her body is cybernetic anyway, so she could be whatever race or gender she wants. So why not be Scarlett Johansson?
And I'm about to say something I never thought I would say, which is
go for it.
Which is Max Landis had a good point. I don't think this movie gets made if Scarlett Johansson is not attached to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, she was the highest paid female actress last year. Like, she's a huge superstar. If you are a studio deciding where you're going to give your money, are you going to give your money to a film that already has a kind of smaller audience to begin with, that also has someone that is not one of the most famous actresses in the world? You attach Scarlett Johansson to the movie and suddenly studios say, yes, we will fund that. So, I mean, it's wrong. I think I want to see there be more famous Japanese actresses. Absolutely. We don't really have like a hugely famous Japanese actress right now, which is sad. But I, in the case of this movie, it wouldn't exist without her. So
Yeah, right. And it actually reminds me of Matt Damon being in the Great Wall movie we just talked about,
Yeah.
where if he wasn't in it, then it would just not have an American release.
Right. Yeah.
So
All right, so that is March. Now we're moving into April. April, actually, I don't have too many movies to talk about. It's kind of weird. But the first movie is on April 14th. This is The Fate of the Furious, which is the Fast and Furious 8 movie. I love this title. I love this trailer. I love this franchise. I am so excited for this movie. Matt, tell me why you don't like it, and I'll tell you why you're wrong.
I don't even think I don't like it. I think I was in one of those like probably watched Fight Club too many times phases of my life, but back when the first several of the sequels were coming out, and so I was like, I'm not going to see that. That looks so terrible, and like with no appreciation for the fact that it also looked really fun and seemed to actually be really fun. So I just never saw any of them, and now it seems like a thing with me. So maybe I'll just watch this one. And although I do kind of want to like write the narrative of what I think the story of the Fast and the Furious series is, because that could be entertaining potentially.
Yeah, so the weird thing about this series is I was right there with you. I mean, I saw the first movie when it came out, and it was an okay street racing movie. It was kind of trying to be a Point Break with street racing, but
yeah.
And then I kind of left the series. Like, I remember I had roommates in college who loved Tokyo Drift, and I relentlessly made fun of them for it because I was like, why? But somewhere around Fast 5, like the series like retooled itself and figured out what it wanted to be, and it just got crazy good. And now I've gone back and watched all the other ones, and like, while I don't think the second or third or fourth movie are particularly great, I think they lead into what the series has become, and I love it. It's ridiculous. Like, I will never call these high art, but they are just such a blast. And this movie looks so fun. F. Gary Gray is directing it. We said that this is a different director from the last film. So I don't know. I'm excited, man.
Yeah,
I love it.
Me too. I mean, I'm excited as I can be for somebody who hasn't seen these movies, but I do like my Vin Diesel, and I do like my Dwayne Johnson. So,
all right. Also on the 14th is The Lost City of Z. I don't know much about this film outside of seeing the trailer. I just know that it did very well in some film festivals earlier last year, and is supposed to be one of the real big releases this year as far as independent film goes. It looks interesting. I don't know what else to say, really.
Yeah, it looks like it's one of those like harrowing movies where it's not really enjoyable to watch, in that it's probably a lot of violence.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna probably follow up more about this one because I'm curious enough to bother figuring out what it's really about, and then maybe make a decision on whether I'm going to see it.
Yeah. Also in April, on the 28th, is The Circle. This is a film based off of a book, which is basically a book about how Google is evil and plotting to take over the world. The movie stars Emma Thompson and Tom Hanks. I read this book. I wasn't in love with it. I think it's got some interesting themes going on in there, but I'm not really sold on this trailer either. Maybe it's because I know the story and I know how it ends, so I'm not like, there's nothing to hook me here. What did you think?
Yeah, it looked pretty. So I didn't watch I didn't read the book, so I don't really know exactly what's going on. But my interpretation of the trailer was that it looks just like a young adult novel movie, like any one of the several young adult novel movies that we have already.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like they're going for that kind of tone, that kind of demographic targeting, and it didn't really appeal to me too much.
Right, so that's The Circle. We'll see if that's any good. I'll probably end up seeing it, sadly, because I like these two actors, and I'm curious enough to see how they adapt the thing, but I'm just not excited about it. Moving on to May. We're in summer proper now, even though we've been saying that for the past 3 months. The first movie of May comes out on the 5th. That's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, James Gunn's follow-up to his wildly successful sci-fi Marvel movie of, was that 2014 that came out? Matt, we've already kind of talked about this one, but how excited are you for this movie?
10 out of 10, I would say.
There we go. All right, we'll move on. Guardians of the Galaxy, it looks great. It looks like it's capturing the exact tone it needs to. This is probably one of my most anticipated films of the year. And we'll move on from that to a really weird-looking movie, which comes out on May the 12th, called King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. This is Guy Ritchie's street punk King Arthur movie.
Yeah, like that was my reaction. Is I was like, so this, it's not just Guy Ritchie making a King Arthur movie. This is a Guy Ritchie King Arthur movie.
Yeah.
And which will only really make sense if you're familiar with Guy Ritchie, but very, very strong stylistic director. And I think he's going to be bringing a very kinetic paced swashbuckling adventure type feeling to this King Arthur retelling.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's always interesting to see different takes on the King Arthur legend.
So here's the thing. I think this movie is going to be bad. I think it's going to collapse on itself from its own stylistic weight. I think it's going to start off strong, and then it's going to have to tick all these King Arthur boxes, and it's going to have to be this giant battle at the end that they're kind of showing off in the trailer, and it's going to lose all the cool stylistic things that it had. That being said, I'm kind of into this trailer. It's so weird, and like the weird like police interview that Arthur's being given. Like, where were you on this day? Wait, rewind. Like it's the stylistic flirt. It just looks so. I mean, it's weird, but it looks so different, and I want to see it.
Yeah, I hope they manage to avoid having a really boring giant battle at the end. I agree with you there.
Yeah. Moving on from there, May 19th, Alien Covenant. So we've talked about this film a lot, but I don't think we've talked about this film on air since the trailer came out, because that happened. I think that was Christmas Eve that they dropped this trailer, because that's what people want to do on Christmas Eve. So what did you think of this trailer?
I mean, it's hard to overcome the negative bias that I have toward this new, whatever the word is, rebooting, reimagining of the Alien franchise that Ridley Scott is doing. And this trailer did not succeed in overcoming that bias. So, I think you were the one who said that it really looks like they're trying to recap a lot of the main points from Alien, the original Alien, in terms of a lot of details, actually, including like very specific weight, like events and the way things are shot and things that the alien does. They even show the alien in the trailer, which I thought was surprising.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. What did you think?
I'm pretty much in agreement with you. I never thought this was a good idea. And nothing in this trailer, like, the internet's reaction to this trailer was one of excitement, and that confused the hell out of me, because I didn't feel like I was looking at anything special. I think the coolest thing about the Alien franchise was each director took a movie and put their twist on what an alien would look like in their universe. So going back to Ridley Scott has just never been interesting to me, and if he's just going to keep remaking his first movie, basically, like, I don't care. And it looks like the worst of both. It looks like he's trying to remake Alien while also trying to shove in a bunch of the BS Prometheus stuff to tie it together. And I just don't care.
Yeah. And as I think I've said before, I would actually love it if Ridley Scott started making like Lovecraftian cosmic horror movies that were not just repeated callbacks to Alien, but he really seems stuck on the same, at this point in time, very tired visual and plot wise type concepts that we've just seen. I mean, great job, Ridley. You pioneered this. You do get the credit. You did this the first time. We all appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's been done so many times that it's worse than a cliche. And just do something different, please.
No, Matt, because
I know he's listening. So
now they have backbursters, so it's different.
Oh, yeah.
What a stupid idea! Like that's like something an office full of suits comes up with and says, "Yeah, because it'll be the same, but different."
Right. Yeah. I mean that. I almost feel like that's the kind of thing that comes from like the Aliens versus Predator comic books or something.
Yeah, probably. All right. So next we have on the 26th of May, Pirates 5, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. So I never saw the fourth movie. Did you?
No.
I have no idea what's going on. And I don't, like, nothing in this. I think the thing I linked to you is just a teaser trailer because I don't think they have a full trailer yet. But I don't know what this is.
Yeah. The CG looks terrible.
It does.
By the way,
I hope it was just unfinished.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, this is worse than the third movie, which was years ago. Yeah, I don't know what to think about. I mean, this trailer is very kind of generic and teasery, so there's not much you can draw from it. It looks too similar to the third one, though. It looks like it's the Davy Jones style, like aquatic minions.
Right.
And they're trying to kill Jack Sparrow again. And it's like, yep, that was the third movie, guys. Did you watch the third movie?
Yeah, I don't know. The two guys directing this, I've never heard of. I don't know how they keep getting everyone back. Like Orlando Bloom's still in this.
Oh my god.
Johnny Depp, of course, is going to keep doing these movies forever. But like Geoffrey Rush is back. Like I don't know how they get these people, but I guess it'll probably do okay because the last movie, even though I never saw it, I think it still made $1 billion. Like people go see these movies. I don't know. Yeah. Or maybe it'll just be a bomb like all the sequels were this past year, and they'll be done with Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It could surprise us. I can never count out this franchise because, of course, everyone expected the first movie to be terrible, and it was just an instant classic.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. The other movie that comes out that same day, competing with Pirates of the Caribbean, is another beach movie, Baywatch. We've talked about Baywatch on the podcast before. I don't want to rehash what we've talked about. I think we both kind of agreed this looks surprisingly good. It's setting the right kind of tone. It's not taking itself seriously. So, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No. Just looks pretty funny.
Yeah. Also on May 26th is Life. This is a science fiction film about people on I think what is supposed to be the International Space Station finding life in space, and it goes bad. So basically like Alien, but different. But I don't know. I'm kind of into this. It looks interesting.
Yeah, it's hard to tell from the trailer what direction they're going to go. It definitely Alien vibes, but also reminded me of some like Outer Limits or Twilight Zone type creepy space alien horror. And it has a great looking cast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean this is like a ideal movie for me, so I'm way in on this one actually.
Yeah, I agree. I actually saw this, and this wasn't on my list at first, and then I added it because I was like, oh, Matt will really like this movie. So,
well, thank you.
It's like I know you.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to June. On June 2nd, we have the Wonder Woman film. I like this trailer. I think this movie could end up being good, but I have zero faith in DC at this point. So I'm just not really that excited.
No, me neither.
I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, this trailer's been out for a while, actually. So I think we've probably talked about it already. But
yeah,
I don't know.
It just looks like it has all the same problems that the other ones have had of like too self-serious of a tone.
Yeah.
You can even just tell from the color palette that it's just going to be dreary.
But yeah, like normally Wonder Woman's costume is like so bright colored, you know, and it feels like they've just muted it all.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. And moving on from that is The Mummy on June 9th. Another movie we've talked about before. Another movie that looks completely wrong, and this is their attempt to create a Universal Monsters shared universe. So The Mummy, Van Helsing, Jekyll and Hyde, Frankenstein, Dracula. Matt, this is a terrible idea, and this movie looks so silly.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this. It looks terrible, and I think wrong is the perfect word. Like you just said, it's tonally all wrong. It just seems like every choice they make, it's like, what are you doing? I don't know. I mean, this is Tom Cruise, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he picks good movies, so.
Did you happen to see they accidentally released a version of the trailer that had all the sound effects taken out? Did you happen to see that version?
I doubt it.
You need to look that up. It is hilarious. Because there's just a scene like, or there's supposed to be like, I think it's when the plane is crashing, and there's supposed to be like all the sound effects of the plane crashing and wind rushing by, but all that's muted, and it's just Tom Cruise screaming. It's so wonderful.
Okay, I'll do that.
I think that's going to be better than the actual film.
Yeah.
Moving on from that, on June 16th is the first of 2 Pixar films that are coming out this year. This one is Cars 3. So, Matt, you and I have talked about Pixar a lot, and we both kind of agree that we just wish they were doing original properties. I've never been into the Cars series. And this teaser, I understand it's just a teaser, but like, what is their target audience for this? Because the teaser is a slow-moving, crashing, dying, basically, main character of this very childish. I mean, like, all these movies are aimed at kids, but Cars in particular has always like aired even more child-friendly than some of their other films. So what are they doing? What is this?
I don't know. I actually somehow skipped this trailer in my attempt to watch all these trailers. But I mean, my kids love the first Cars, so if you're telling me one of the main characters is involved in a horrible accident in this trailer, I'm not too hopeful.
I mean, it's basically just like a slow motion shot of Lightning McQueen like getting in a wreck while racing on the track, and like pieces of the car like being thrown everywhere, and like the line "everything will change," and like that's the trailer. It's super tonally like self-serious, and that's so weird for a Cars movie. I understand it's just a teaser, but it's very strange.
Well, that's just to be a little bit more positive minded, I guess. I mean, Pixar is always trying new, different things, and sometimes they're like partial misses, but also you really appreciate that they tried. I guess I'm thinking of like The Good Dinosaur here, where
and I like that film more than most people seem to.
Yeah, I mean, and I like that film too. It wasn't like a massive success and so forth, but like it almost wasn't trying to be. It was trying to be sort of a more modest thing.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe, just maybe, they're like, look, we don't want to tell another madcap racing story about a plucky young go-getter race car. We want to have something with a bit more depth, and maybe I don't know. I'm completely making this up right now, but
I hope you're right. I really do. Well, I mean, we'll see on June 16th.
Yeah.
Next, Matt, June 23rd, it happens. Transformers 5. Transformers: The Last Night. Again, I think we've talked about this one before as well.
Yeah.
I am so excited. This thing looks so crazy. I'm in.
Yeah. I mean, yes.
I love you, Michael Bay. Continue just doing what you do.
Yeah. Just to reiterate, this one seems to be the one where they confirm that Optimus Prime is actually the villain all along, which is hilarious because as much as we talked about those incredibly long reviews of this film series, I didn't quite believe them until this trailer.
Right? Like I think that they made a really good point, but I think that was reading a little too much into the films. And then you see this movie, and you're like, oh no, he's just actually a crazy bad guy. So, June 23rd also comes out, competing with the Transformers movie, is Sofia Coppola's next film, The Beguiled, which is a remake of a 1970-something Clint Eastwood movie. It's about a Confederate soldier that holds up inside an all-women's school, and stuff happens. I have never seen the film, but I'm interested in this because I don't think Coppola's made a movie since 2012 or 13. And I generally enjoy her work, so I'm interested to see how this turns out. What about you?
I guess I'm curious. Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion either way. I couldn't make heads or tails of the trailer, so I'm glad you explained what it's about.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting now to the point where the trailers we do have will be teasers, and we're going to start not having trailers at all. So the further into the late year we move, the less about these films we will actually know. And I think this is one of those that the teaser is very kind of just weird and not really specific, but I don't know. I'm excited.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And now we are into July, and with July comes more Marvel, because on July 7th, Spider-Man: Homecoming comes out. I'm very excited for this movie, Matt. I love Spider-Man. I think this trailer looks very good. The one thing I will say is, as much as I'm looking forward to this movie, it feels like it's just Marvel playing for second, because I think even if this movie is incredible, I just don't think it's going to be as good as the Sam Raimi originals.
Yeah, I thought the Sam Raimi ones were great, and especially the first one. So they're basically, seems like they're going to have to retread a lot of the same ground that's been done more than once now. And another nitpick, I suppose, that I had was they show in the trailer that within this movie, one of Peter Parker's friends finds out that he's Spider-Man, and I thought that was I don't know, poor choice, I guess, just because to me, like, the whole appeal of Peter Parker and Spider-Man is that he has this terrible burden of being like a really unfortunate normal person who also feels compelled to go out and be Spider-Man. And it's not like he's Clark Kent being Superman or whatever, where he's just sort of like flawless and can do whatever. It's like he's actually really struggling in his personal life, and he's really struggling being Spider-Man, but he's so like moral that he can't not be Spider-Man. And I think it really takes the wind out of the sails a bit when you have like a support system for him. Like, you don't actually want to give him that from a character point of view, but I don't know, that's pretty minor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I think maybe what we're seeing, I think like giving him that support structure is something you usually reserve for like a later character arc after you've established the character and had them go through their first round of trials and tribulations. Maybe this is just a hint that they're just accelerating the character a little bit, that they're not going to retread they're not doing the origin story, I think. So maybe we're just going to see a further along and established Spider-Man, which I'm okay with. But if they're going to touch the beats on him dealing with and suffering with the ramifications of being Spider-Man, I agree that having someone to confide in kind of hurts that. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. Either way.
Yeah. July 14th, War for the Planet of the Apes comes out. This is the third movie in the rebooted Apes trilogy, I guess. I think these are some of the most slept on blockbusters, because I think the first two movies have done okay, but I really think they're really, really good. And I'm very excited for this film. I think it looks excellent.
Yeah, I love this franchise. I love the whole idea of it. I mean, this is another one where when it was first coming out, I think me and everyone was like, "Oh man, this is a terrible idea," and then it turned out to be really good. So yeah, this is potentially going to be really fun. I'm excited. Yeah,
that's on July 14th. After that, July 21st is Dunkirk. This is Chris Nolan's new film about the rescue mission in I think it was in 1941, where the British Army was trapped in France and was eventually rescued. I don't. So I have a very complicated relationship with Christopher Nolan. I do think that the setup here might curtail some of his worst tendencies, because I don't think there's room for a lot of exposition and over-explaining in a premise that's pretty simple. I think the visuals look very impressive from the trailer, so I hope that this will be one of Nolan's better films.
Yeah, I forgot this was Chris Nolan. Yeah, it definitely looks very visually stylized. Maybe he's experimenting here.
Yeah. I think this was the movie where I think Michael's dad sold them a plane that was used in the film.
Right. Or let them use it or something.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. So we'll have to be on the lookout for I think they painted it and it's going to look nothing like what they made, but that's kind of cool.
Yeah, still. Yeah. We can make a big deal out of it regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. Also on the 21st, competing with Dunkirk and a bunch of other blockbusters, is Luc Besson's new sci-fi fantasy movie Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. Matt, we were talking before we hit record, and this is just one of those movies that just looks doomed to flop. Like, yeah. I think it looks really interesting. I think it could be one of those cult classic-y films. Obviously, this isn't the first sci-fi movie that Luc Besson's made that's become a cult classic, but I don't see this doing well at all.
Yeah, I mean, it has the advertising or the marketing problem of something like John Carter, where even if it's good, nobody's going to go see it just because it's so weird.
Yeah. And it's being dropped like in the middle of a huge month. I mean, 2 weeks after Spider-Man, a week after the new Chris Nolan movie, like this is tough competition. Or no, so the same week of the Chris Nolan movie. Like, I feel bad for this movie. I think it looks very interesting. I'm kind of on board with it. Like, I think I'm going to go see it, but I just think it's doomed, and that's sad.
Yeah, I'm actually on board with it too. I'm always in for weird sci-fi. I just love. I love it when people try, even if it doesn't work.
Right. All right. To round off July on the 28th is the Dark Tower movie. This is the first movie in the adaptation of Stephen King's epic book series. I love the Dark Tower books. You have not read them, correct?
Correct.
They're phenomenal. You need to get around to it eventually. I'm kind of in on this movie. We haven't seen a trailer yet. We've seen a lot of stills and pictures. This is McConaughey as our main bad guy. I don't know, Matt. Have you looked into this at all? Have you seen anything on it? We don't have a trailer, so.
I was just glancing at the stills, and I really can't speak much because I hadn't read the books. But I was a bit surprised because my impression was that the character who McConaughey is playing wasn't supposed to be in the story that much, but like all the stills are of him. Maybe I'm just wrong about that because I haven't read it, so I don't know.
Yeah, so from what I understand, the Dark Tower is very complicated. From what I understand, they are being very liberal with their interpretation of the source material, and there's a way they've gotten around this that fits in within the story itself. This is a movie that takes place primarily in New York City. The book series did not. They do go to New York City in the book, but they're mostly in this fantasy Old West type dying world where the Dark Tower is. But that's expensive, and this is a movie that's trying to kickstart a franchise on a thing that not many people know about. So they went the cheaper route and did most of the filming in New York City. So it's going to be a very different movie from the books. I don't know. I'm trying to be really positive. Idris Elba looks great. Matthew McConaughey looks really good too. I really hope it's good, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think the cast is going to be a strong suit, definitely. I'm excited just because, I mean, I haven't read the books, so this, I mean, I'm almost certainly not going to get around to it before the movie comes out, so I'll get some exposure to this Dark Tower series and maybe feel compelled enough to actually pick up the first book finally.
I hope so. All right, let's move into August. August 4th, we have the Emoji Movie, which is a thing that actually happened. People are making a movie about emojis. So they released a little teaser trailer. I think it was last week. Did you get a chance to look at this?
Yeah.
What was your opinion, Matt?
I mean, I'll have to see. I have to see more trailers, I think. But it's probably going to be really funny. Like you just kind of know it's going to be funny. But I don't know what. Like I don't even know what audience they're targeting. Like, is this a kids movie or what? But
the Pooh talks with a British accent.
That's true. That was a good one. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the Emoji Movie. I think it's a bad idea, but they're gonna do it. So it's August 4th. Also in August on the 11th is Baby Driver. This is Edgar Wright's new film. We don't have a trailer yet. We only know very little about this movie. The main character plays a getaway driver with tinnitus, so he listens to music, and it's apparently a musical. So
wow.
I like it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
But I don't know what to expect. Like, it's Edgar Wright. Like, it's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this fits into his thematic pattern of the certain motifs that he always has.
Yeah.
I mean, just telling me it's Edgar Wright, I'm already in. So.
Right. All right, so that's Baby Driver. Also in August is Nut Job 2, Nutty by Nature. I tried to say that without laughing. I have no idea what this movie is. I didn't even know Nut Job 1 was a thing, but I found the trailer for that, and it's apparently a heist movie about stealing nuts from a nut store.
Is it squirrels?
Yeah, I think so. So that's that movie.
Yeah.
And that's all August has. So that's August.
Oh my god.
In September, we have the remake of Stephen King's It. It's a good year for Stephen King, I guess. September 8th, It comes out. There's no trailer on this. We've just seen some stills of what the Pennywise the Clown will look like in this version. He looks pretty terrible. I am not very hopeful for this film. I like the book a lot. I like Stephen King a lot. There's nothing about this that so far that's made me want to see it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm Googling Pennywise pictures right now. I'm not excited.
Well, see, like, he looks... The whole thing about Pennywise is he's supposed to, like, look like a normal clown, but just have an air of uncomfortableness to him.
Right.
And he looks too creepy. Like, no kid would go hang out with this clown.
Yeah, right. The original Pennywise is a totally believable clown,
right.
And it's like very minor details that make it, kind of more on the unsettling side. And this just looks like a horror movie monster.
Right.
Yeah, it's
bad.
It reminds me of a trailer. When I was poking around looking at trailers, I saw something that was called like The Clown or Clown or something. Did you see this?
No.
It's I don't know when it's coming out exactly. I just happened to see it, but it's like the premise is like a dad tries to get a clown to come to his son's birthday, but the clown can't make it, so the dad puts on the clown suit, and then he can't take it off, and it like bonds to his body, and then he starts transforming into a clown demon, and it looks pretty terrifying. Like I was pretty in on that. I should have mentioned it before so we could put it on the list.
Yeah, that looks amazing. I'm gonna look that up as soon as we finish here.
Yeah.
All right. Also in September, on the 29th, a movie called American Made comes out. This is another Doug Liman, Tom Cruise partnership. It's based on a true story about a TWA pilot who smuggles drugs into the U.S., gets caught, and then ends up working for the DEA. We don't have a trailer yet. We don't know very much about it outside of what I just said. But I like when these two guys work together, and I think they generally make good movies, so I'm kind of interested in how this thing turns out.
Yeah, me too. I don't know much about this, but sounds interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a theme going through the rest of this list now. It's going to be, we don't know much about it, but the idea sounds interesting enough to where we're excited.
Yeah.
All right, so October, we have Blade Runner 2049. We do have a trailer for this movie. What did you think of that trailer?
I don't know. I don't know. It's got Ryan Gosling, so it's got that going for it. It's got old Harrison Ford,
Yep.
and I mean, there's nothing about the trailer that's appealing, honestly. If it wasn't Blade Runner, then I would just be like, "What is this? It looks boring." It's not a very good trailer. The whole trailer is built around the like build up to revealing, oh, it's Deckard, and if you don't know about Blade Runner, then you don't care at all.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised they went this route because the trailer really shows nothing about what the movie's going to be about.
Yeah. I don't really like Blade Runner, so I'm kind of with you on this. The only reason I'm remotely interested in this film is the director is Denis Villeneuve, who did Arrival, and then Sicario before that, and then Prisoners before that. He just has this track record of making very, very good movies. So he's enough to kind of get me interested, but nothing else. Nothing in this trailer really does.
Yeah.
All right, next, also on the 6th, we have the sequel to Kingsman. It's called The Golden Circle. I know nothing about this film outside of that name. We don't have a trailer yet. Did you ever see the original Kingsman?
No, I still haven't. I don't know why. It hasn't popped up on any of my streaming services, I guess.
Look around. I mean, I think it's probably somewhere. I would look around for it. It's a very good film, and I'm kind of in for this one too.
Okay, cool.
On October 13th, we have Logan Lucky. This is an Adam Driver-led film. Also has Channing Tatum in it. It's the reason it's significant is Steven Soderbergh is directing it. So Steven Soderbergh, who I think has retired like 4 times now, is coming out of retirement once again to make another movie. And then he's probably going to retire again and come out of retirement again. But I don't really know much about this movie other than Soderbergh is involved, and that gets me interested. So
cool.
Also in October, on the 27th, we have God Particle. The only reason this movie is significant is because this is supposed to be another one of the Cloverfield series of movies. I don't know anything about it other than that. I think it takes place in space. I don't know how it relates to the other 2 Cloverfield movies at all. I don't know if it's going to be good, but 10 Cloverfield Lane was good enough that I'm now interested in this film. So,
yeah, that's cool. I'm all for this new Cloverfield expanded universe of weird sci-fi.
Yeah, it's the new Twilight Zone. I dig it.
Yeah,
so.
Totally.
All right, also on the 27th is Saw Legacy. This is I think it's probably the 8th or 9th Saw film. They had finally finished them. They had completed the series, and then they took like 5 years off, and now we're back with another Saw movie. This is uninspired and boring, and like I don't even know what it's going to be about, and I don't care. I like the Saw movies, but I'm just not interested in this. No,
I've never seen any of the Saw movies, and I don't care to start.
Well, there you go. All right, moving on to November. So November's like a second summer now. We have 2 comic book movies coming out in November and a Pixar movie. So we have, on November 3rd, we have Thor Ragnarok. This is the 3rd Thor movie. We do not have a trailer for this one yet, but it is directed by Taika Waititi, who did What We Do in the Shadows and last year's Hunt for the Wilder People, which are 2 really, really good movies. If you haven't seen either of those, Matt, you need to.
Okay.
They're very funny movies. So he has a very quirky sense of humor. Like, he worked with the Flight of the Conchords guys for a long time. So I think this is going to be a very different type of movie, and I'm excited. I've never been excited for a Thor movie before, and now I am. So I hope we get a trailer on this one soon.
Yeah, it's a little surprising that he's like a comedy director because the title doesn't sound funny.
Right. It's about the end of the world. Right. Yeah, so... also in November on the 17th, we have Justice League. This is really weird to me because it seems like I think this is best demonstrating of the changing nature of what a summer blockbuster movie is, that a movie like Justice League would come out in November is crazy. But here we are, November 17th is Justice League. So we do have a trailer for this one. It's the old one that came out a while ago, but we've not received anything really new since then. I think that trailer was really just damage control, to be like, okay, we know you guys didn't like Batman vs Superman, but we're going to be way different, promise. So they have a bunch of jokey jokes in this Justice League trailer. What did you think of this?
I think it's a remarkably bad trailer considering how much money they're putting into this.
Yeah.
Like the Flash character and the Aquaman character both look pretty uncompelling and like overacted in an inappropriate direction for a superhero movie. I mean, you want some overacting in a superhero movie, but this just looks poor choices. Don't really know what it's going to be about, which is fine. I don't need to know what movies are about necessarily, but still feel like DC hasn't really figured out how to do this whole tone thing.
Nope. They're trying, which I guess is commendable, but
yeah,
I just like how much like I can't give them any more benefit of the doubt at this point. Like their last two movies have been truly dreadful. Like I think Transformers has more good movies in their franchise than DC does.
Oh my gosh!
So that's Justice League. Also coming out in November is the other Pixar movie we were talking about. This is Coco. This is the Pixar original film based on De los Muertos. We don't know much about this film outside of that, really. But it's a Pixar movie, so I'm excited. It's an original Pixar movie, so I'm very excited. So
awesome. Yeah, fully in.
Yeah. I did read that Disney attempted to trademark Dia de los Muertos when they were still shopping names for this movie. And there was a huge amount of backlash for that. All of Mexico declared it cultural appropriation, and they withdrew their trademark. But
that's funny. Just try to trademark Christmas.
Way to go. Yeah, I know, right? It's so crazy. Way to go, Disney. Anyway, it's called Coco now. It's not called Dia de los Muertos, but that's Coco. I can't wait to see some more information on this. I'm very much looking forward to how this could turn out.
Yeah.
And last, and certainly possibly least, Matt, December 15th, Star Wars Episode 8. So we know nothing about this movie. By now, last year, they had already released the episode, or 2 years ago, they had already released the Episode 7 trailer, right?
I think so.
Yeah, but we don't have a trailer. We don't have a name.
I mean, the first Episode 7 trailer, though, was actually very teasery and even had some shots that weren't even in the movie.
Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, it's interesting. They're being really, really cagey on this one. It's going to be interesting to see how things unfold and how they roll it out, because if I'm not mistaken, there's supposed to be some kind of terrific twist in this one, or maybe twist is the wrong word, but we're supposed to find out who, or I suspect we're going to find out who Rey's parents are.
Yeah, probably.
And there's going to be some other thing, and I don't know. It's hard to know what is just hype, because especially with these Star Wars movies, it seems like there's a lot more effort put into the hype and the dropping, like intentionally quote unquote leaking things that they know are going to drive people crazy and make, just stir up interest.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So Matt, we're 2 movies into this Star Wars every year thing, and I already don't really care anymore. Like it's amazing how quickly it happened. Like, and I didn't dislike The Force Awakens. Like I don't think it was a great movie, but it wasn't bad. And the same thing with Rogue One. But it's just like it's hard to get excited for this thing when every February and March you're going to get a trailer, and then they're going to slowly ramp up, and then it's going to be Star Wars everywhere for 2 months, and then we're just going to repeat the cycle again every year.
Yeah. I this doesn't really hurt my feelings though, because I've discovered that I can just watch Empire anytime I want, and it actually just stays just as good. You don't actually get tired of Empire. You don't actually get tired of A New Hope either. You do kind of start to notice things in Jedi though, but
I refuse to acknowledge that.
I still love Jedi though. I'm not knocking it, but like, yeah, those movies really hold up, and it's nice to have the opportunity. Like I'm gonna really enjoy it, I think, when my kids are old enough to take to the theater for this kind of movie, because as of now we've managed to take them to Moana, but when I can take them to a movie where there's dismemberments, that's gonna be I'm going to enjoy taking them to the theater for this.
Yeah, maybe
But-
that'll be enough to reinvigorate your interest in the franchise.
Yeah, right. That's true. Because I probably like Moana a lot more than I would like it if I didn't have kids, honestly.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's 2017. I think it's going to be a good year, Matt. I mean, there's definitely some movies in here I'm not at all interested in, but there's a lot of potential in this list, and it's kind of spread out throughout the year too. I think the most interesting thing to me is the movies that we didn't even see coming that suddenly are movies that take over our end of the year lists and stuff like that. So those are always going to be interesting. But just looking at this, I'm excited about this year.
Yeah, and thanks for putting this together. There was a lot of stuff on here that I had no idea about, and now I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, of course, it's fun. I like planning my year in cinema.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna do a lot of writing about these movies.
Awesome. I'll hold you to that.
All right. So that's all we had for this week. Matt, where can you be found on the webs? I've
been known to tweet at Mail handle.
All right, cool. I am also a tweeter at Scott Daly 85. That's Daly. You can also find this podcast, our Kryptonian Collection podcast, our Phantom Zone podcast, and everything else we do at Daily Planet Films. And that's dailyplanetfilms.com. You can also support us on Patreon if you like what we do. That's patreon.com/dailyplanetfilms. And that's all I had. We will be back next week with a new episode. I don't remember what it is, so I won't say it here, but it's going to be awesome and probably movie related. But that's all we had. 2017. I'm excited. Let's go do it. Let's see some movies.
Let's do this.
And we will see you next week.
Podcast is over. It's done. We hope you all had some fun. Go back to your work or your school. Maybe the gym. Hey, that's cool. Regardless, just go away.